comment under this post reading if you're not careful accidentally. And this to me actually makes the backrooms such a horrifying thing to think, which is the situation we find our cameraman in. The backrooms like shown here is described, but we'll get to that as it comes up. This yellow maze is referred to as the complex on the back, catching the glimpse of someone or something peering around the corner. Reality here seems to follow no rules, coming across a ladder that leads him towards he's so high up. I presume it would be near 7 feet tall. Scribbles we hear an almost robotic shriek, like of the creature that I can only presume was the one stalking the cameraman beforehand. It seems to be the like a kid's stick figure drawing than anything. He is subsequently chased around the complex doorways, again seeing the monster behind him, but if we stop and look at it, we can see it actually a host, seeing clear holes through its arms and legs with almost a triangular blank for no choice. Surviving the fall, he's able to get away for now, but jumping down is but also that he is not in some house. He has actually entered a huge of this place gives me the creeps. It really takes me back to the times of be full of people is terrifying to say the least. I mean, look at Will Smith and I of fine art, but at this point in the video I began to really think, what is this of actual people, or even an upkeeper taking care of the place, even though it seems nice and hundreds of these places spanning what seems like forever. I'm not sure how the entire structure. I don't know if we can categorize it as levels just yet, but when you back to the start, but trying to make logical sense of this place is impossible with now moving around more slowly due to the fact that he knows what lurks around the corners. We begin to hear a little off from the first time we saw it, and it makes me kind of think, could there be more than one of the whole or surely face death? But luckily, he doesn't have to make it. Going frame by frame, we can see the creature September 23rd, 1996, along with a link to another video. Before the 1996 date seems to be the day the video was uploaded. 5 years later, Backrooms in 1991 and Spitting Out the Camera in 96. Meaning that was a compilation of pictures, the first one looking like early construction of the complex, and now a more fully formed complex room and what looks like workers observing the complex. If I'm flying a drone at say 10 meters in the air, but my reading shows something, basically meaning we're dealing with a huge otherworldly human-like complex that is either, yes, it looks like some kind of doorway. Whew, dang, and that's all in video 1. Something to do with all the machinery and doorway we saw earlier, as blueprints and still images of our facilities to reinstate their progress. Not sure if there's more and saving money on property construction and management. With that in mind, could the connection pocket dimension that scientists tried to create to save money on building cost and space? My personal theory as of right now is that the Backrooms was just a room being built, but something more has to be at play here, because that doesn't answer what those creatures 1998, showing the machine turning on and opening a portal to what I can But that doesn't explain why this third test in particular wasn't released. Is this not playing this along with the async logo? Get used to hearing about them a lot too. Text saying before a screen for just a split second pops up, giving a code that one amount of particles that can be created from these collisions. It's actually really cool to see that came from all the time for simplicity's sakes, but I feel like we're on the right track, making first contact. This episode seems to stand as the catalyst for all that is to come, for small pockets to open up, presumably all over the nation and possibly struck the west coast of California, right in the middle of Game 3 of the 1989 opening their portal and these earthquakes hitting Northern California. Showing the destruction. If we don't know that, something is clear. Async is testing things that it turn a blind eye to async causing earthquakes, unless async is keeping them of missing people posters of all ages, followed by a graph showing the back rooms. I didn't mention at first, but the date in the description reads February 30th. Reality in front of you, as well as hundreds of other people randomly going missing. The only thing guiding them back to reality is a long rope on the ground, and as they look around, employees seem shocked that the body's even there, before pictures of bacteria pop up, purely based on process of elimination for right now, unless it's that unnamed site KV-31. We learn a couple minor things in this video, such as the door with the complex is strictly prohibited. Before, for a split frame, the map that was them, or because the complex itself is already open, so it's too late to. Video shows how you're supposed to enter the complex, only going in groups. At a minimum, it's hard to describe what exactly they're saying since the suit muffles their voice, but they trouble hearing what they're saying.
Bro, my fucking hair! Stop taking my hair!
It was being said, and if anyone in the comments knows better than me, it would be a huge help. Different time in that same place. I mean, it is the same exact corridor, just with the barn. What is going on? The barn itself, but throughout the entirety of the complex and its many levels, they all have one thing in common. What is a normal world, but just can't comprehend it, making crude and weird alarm is set off, but we actually can see the threshold door right there in front of Vacuum's World, June 1991.
It's okay, bounce back.
Almost a year later. So
Chased, well,
right away we are shown the John
up
Doe's
to some
autopsy report
certain
dated
point.
February 5th. Myself has
Really
severe
depends
tissue
on a woman,
damage.
so.
It seems that the decomposing process was somehow goes on. He
Unless
says that
he
tissue-wise,
puts
some
a
parts of the body
restraining
were
order
kept
over you.
perfectly intact, while for some reason, in the conditions of
Your
the complex,
losses.
it seems to basically mutate it. Just look the same color as the monster in the first video. What if it really is the same thing? Kill him. And if that's true, maybe this is the beginning stages of that monster coming in. Definitely not be walking around so calmly if they knew it was lurking. The doctor then
Mr. Beck, may I ask?
complex and the project itself really is kept under wraps, especially if their own autopsy.
Frustrating when people are always interested for making.
Political officials, people, inventions, the universe, bombs. threshold, the corpse, as well as text on the screen.
Just
It's cut
bounce
off,
back.
but I can engagements in this environment was never suited for mankind. Condemned. Ending on this picture of the threshold when it first opened with what I can only describe things of it. But the overarching message that it seems to be trying to tell is that these are important exploration, along with moments of mass destruction, nukes being dropped, volcanoes. But to me, honestly, it seems that the video is implying the contact that Async and the US government world-changing moments in human history. Something so big it slumped in with the discussion. I mean, if the video at the end truly is a bomb overlaying the threshold, then videos in the series itself in its entirety. Kane does a really good job of making this world come description below, and I don't know, watch the whole thing, get the full experience, or just continue on build out the room in front of the threshold like we saw in their blueprints. They've also set up this map too, though, is it seems
I'm
they have
currently
a good sense of the layout
drawing
of at least some sections. Also
the
shown all the footage of the motion alerts that happened that day. The first couple of hours are and sounds of the threshold closing. But an hour after midnight, at 1 a.m. on March as well as just an hour later in the far left corridor. It looks only like a shadow of tentacles moving. And was being chased by the monster. It seems that he no clips particularly fleshed out. I don't think this is a mistake. And like we see with this phase through walls, but how is that possible? Why? Keep a close eye on moments like that to see if we can get any more evidence. But for now, forward at all. It's much different than what we are used to for the back rooms. We're shown creating a myth. There's no doubt in my mind we're looking at the beginning stages of the machine. It seems to be out of it. But this video also gives us a possible location of where the backrooms are. Research lab in the US located in Tennessee right outside of Knoxville. If the proto originated due to the earthquakes. So that may not be true, but something tells me this place is president or the founder of Async, but we'll see how that theory unfolds. Into the complex. Dated May 6, 1990, we see him and the rest of the KV-31 crew getting ready, also learning the names of two of the other three researchers, being Mac and George. Async has also been ramping up their work around the threshold, making it more fortified every time we see it. As they walk through, they seem to be talking about approvals for expanding further into the complex and mapping more out. and we can see the methods they are using to ensure not getting lost, implementing ropes into the ground and markings across the floor. As they explore around, they come across this carpet-covered grid pattern floor with what looks to be holes of bottomless pits. They decide to venture across, which is astonishing, especially since they have no harnesses, and after one ventures across to see what's through the door on the opposite side, he implores Marvin to follow him before...
Even there.
Yeah, bathrooms.
Yeah.
Right before he falls, for a split second a blue screen again pops up reading, "While data could be inferred from these readings, nobody knew what would actually be found on the other side." I think this refers to the complex as a whole, and that no matter what technology Async uses to try and gather data, they'll truly never know what the complex has in store for them. After Marvin falls, they think of a plan to get him back, but he hears something.
What was that?
What was what?
I don't know.
I didn't hear anything up here.
It sounded like... I think there's somebody down here.
What?
I hear yelling. Like, a person is yelling.
A person?
As he continues towards this opening at the bottom of the walls, he sees an entirely different world. It looks like an entire neighborhood that was stolen from the world and plopped into the complex. The team urges him not to continue, but Marvin thinks back to those null zones we learned about earlier. He thinks there might be someone who had fallen in and needs help. This area is much more fleshed out than anything we've seen so far. It's a long cry from the attempt the complex tried to make with the barn, with full-on 3D houses now being made, even having a night sky above it. Though it's clearly just a wallpaper, but he doesn't have time to admire.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Screams and yelling of a male voice can be heard coming from one of the houses. As Marvin enters, he is greeted by a room filled with inverted turn signs before again hearing a cry for help. Going further down in the house, he seems to be put in a maze of hallways as his signal with the rest of the crew goes fuzzy. But for this next part, I just want you guys to experience this, and I'll come back after.
Oh my god.
What?
I think someone's been living down here.
Living down there? That's not possible.
Hey! Can you hear me? I think I found him.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Marvin?
That's not a person.
What is it?
That is not a fucking person!
What? Marvin, talk to me. What do you see? What's going on?
This was really unnerving to watch, especially late at night. And while writing this, I'm not gonna lie, the way the monster is able to mimic human voices crying out for help, as well as its painful scream it gives out while chasing, is nightmare fuel. So right off the bat, it seems that this monster preys on other humans that have fallen into the complex through null zones, using its voice to lure others out of hiding, only to be attacked. If it acts anything like the monster we saw in the very first video, more than likely it eats or devours the people it catches, if we're following the idea that these things may be made up of human-eating bacteria. Because it might be scary to think that this thing might have at one time been a human. If these creatures really aren't bacteria monsters, I think that they are actually other people, other humans that have morphed into these things after being in the complex so long. Due to the environment the complex creates, it changes them over time, and they are only able to survive off of other victims that have fallen in. And if that's true, then maybe it makes sense why it can still scream out in a human voice, because it's all that it had left of its past self. Even if not, one thing is for sure, these monsters aren't just acting on pure instinct, they're intelligent. They understand how to lure out human prey, and oddest of all to me is the way it uses the words, "Can anybody hear us?" Not "Can anybody hear me?" It uses the word "us" specifically. I'm not sure if it means that it's attacked groups of people down here, or if it knows that humans will flock towards other groups of people. But this section was honestly so scary on my first watch through. Just on how horrifying the sound design is for this monster, this is something that any person would get the chills listening to. And as Marvin makes his way back from the hole he fell in, it's all you can hear. I'm surprised the monster isn't able to get into the room and attack him, as it might just not be agile enough to fit through the small underpass. But more importantly, we can see that Marvin begins to cough. Even with the hazmat suit he has on, the complex still seems to have some kind of health effect on him. I researched more into Haebacillus, and it seems that the bacteria itself can cause respiratory problems, leaving some with simple reactions like allergies, but can also cause things like pneumonia. And thanks to its amazing durability, it can basically survive in any environment. So if the complex itself is ramping up the way the bacteria acts, then it's completely possible it could be very harmful to humans. Marvin is able to luckily escape as the crew uses a rope to pull him up. But the main question I'm left wondering after this video is, where does Async go from here? I said before, they must not have came into contact with one of these monsters yet because they walked around the complex so calmly, too unworried. But if researchers know that thing is lurking around waiting for them, how will they continue to go back out and explore again and again? Well, from the looks of the title on the next video, we may not have to wait long to find out. Report follows right after the events that took place on May 6th's research voyage and run-in with the monster. We open up on Async Labs as the audios from Marvin Encounter plays.
That is not a fucking person! Right, Marvin, talk to me. What do you see?
Closing in on the threshold door opening up, and we can see the entire crew made it back safely. But what seems like a higher up is waiting for them, who, if you had a keen eye last video, was there as Marvin was entering the threshold. We watch as multiple Async researchers seem to overlook the camera footage of Marvin's POV, all of them horrified at what exactly they are witnessing. Also, this change of style from special effects to in real life footage works so well. Actually seeing some faces to the Async names makes it feel more real, instead of just faceless entity that's up to no good. Seeing how the scientists who are working here react to the otherworldly being just makes me feel like, yes, finally someone else knows about this insane thing too. And as the in real life footage ends, we are shown different still shots of other parts of the complex and the further development they've done, going so far as to build an entire mechanical door. From my guess, that encounter spooked Async's team so much that they made further precautions that if that thing is ever seen again, it will not make it out the complex. As we are shown electrical schematics of some sort, most likely pertaining to the giant metal wall they are having built right outside the threshold. Yeah, I'm sure that thing will be the answer to all these cosmic horror problems. The next video presentation takes place only a couple days after, on the 8th of May, presenting a project called Ace Space on a projector. We're then given the Shark Tank pitch for what is alternate reality storage units. Well, it's basically what the presentation makes the complex out to be, being made most likely for the US government, as we know that Async is trying to get government backing, which we learned of if you watched the third test video. Hey, Async is located in California. Why is hell always in California? As the informational plays, a redacted section is shown describing how the low proximity magnetic distortion system, damn tongue twister, or the threshold is created. Most likely redacted because either Async doesn't want anyone else to know the method of opening the backrooms portals, because they are really sitting on a gold mine, and you'll see why in a second, or because the science behind it is so dangerous the government would probably shut it down. As the presentation continues, they seem to be marketing the complex as some type of storage for both items and people, trying to come up with a solution for very real-world problems that we face today, such as pollution storage and an ever-growing population, showing how their solution will increasingly become cheaper and cheaper to lease and maintain compared to other conventional storage units. How this is possible? Well, it seems that Async wants to utilize the complex's potential infinite space, something that any normal storage company just couldn't keep up with. But Async isn't content with just using the backrooms as storage. It looks as though Async wants to implement all kinds of living into the complex. Warehouses, restaurants, apartments, entire businesses into the backrooms, basically allowing it to be used as another world where humans can exist. We also get these weird segments of camera footage of workers walking through hallways and what seems to be like someone's POV as they are looking around Async facilities. We also get some concept art of what complex housing might look like. For the low price of $10, you too can enjoy the luxuries of complex living, with no outdoors ever and the chance to get devoured only once a month. We also get another blue screen pop-up with a backwards text, although it is partially cut off, reads to deceive the sounds like federal, i.e. the federal government, because Async as of right now, from all I've seen, just seems like another greedy business that wants money. This idea of infinite storage would make them unfathomably rich beyond a doubt, but there are things they're trying to hide, because if the government knew about corpses being found, the rise of missing people due to the complex, and the bacteria monster that feeds on these lost souls, this entire project will go down, and most likely higher ups will go to jail. Async knows all this but continues forward with their plans, and it seems that someone on the inside is trying to combat this. At least that's what I think, and that's why we keep getting these blue screen pop-ups with cryptic messages. We are then shown Department of Energy workers walking around inspecting the laboratory, seeing the complex itself and mock-ups Async has made to check their work is up to standard before greenlighting any sort of funding. But as talks are occurring, something happens. An alarm sounds off before we see this. The lost researcher in informational video is shown. So it's true that he did in fact get pushed into the future by the complex to a later time. What does this mean for Async and their funding is something we are left not knowing at this time. There's something else that's been bugging me too. During the presentation graphics, remember when we were shown this scene, a POV setting of someone looking around the Async complex? That footage intrigues me because there doesn't seem to be a DOE tag like we see on the later film. So I'm wondering, could this be something else entirely? A worker here clearly, as the person passing by doesn't question why they're there, but then why would they be filming around the complex? Could this be the person who's writing all these cryptic texts? Well, all these questions are gonna have to wait because Async is gonna take a backseat for a little as we move on to the next video in the series, Found Footage 2, opening up to a woman finding a square spot in her garage that, unbeknownst to her, is actually a null zone into the complex. Testing it out by passing wood chips and a baseball that fall through the ground as if there's no floor. We can even see her sticking an entire ruler in there, but this seems to cause the null zone to expand and she falls through.
I feel it's like vibrating. What just happened?
Recognizing that the ruler began to vibrate right before falling. Remember, vibrations is one way that Async detects these null zones since they seem to vibrate at certain rates when they open or close. Walking around, she finds the corner of a kitchen countertop on the walls. Weird. Also, there's a very distinct change in those ceiling lights. Usually we see long, square doctor bulbs, but now they're circular and more homely. Even seeing a light switch on one of the walls that when turned on opens to tall chairs. Yeah, I'm just getting more and more confused. And as she goes on, she even enters this huge designed space with a lonely couch in the middle. And it was here at this point, I began to think that these are glimpses of the complex Async is building. Now I know that might not make any sense right now, but we know the complex isn't bound by our sense of time. It can move forward and back however it pleases. As long as you've entered something in the complex, it can move it around time however it wants. So what if these designs, the couches, the lights, the light switches, are all moments in the future brought back in time? Looking back at the first found footage video, we didn't know it at the time, but the apartment complexes, the office areas, they're just like the one Async envisioned. This is what they wanted, and it seems that they were in the process of building it out. But this area seen here is just too random. They wouldn't put in couches and corners of countertops with barely designed rooms, but the complex could be taking what's already there in the future and bringing it back in time. Just like how it took the researchers from the past forward, why couldn't it do the same thing but just backwards? As for the distorted chairs, I don't know why those are like that. It's either time traveling in those chairs have made it really distorted, or our legs grow really long in the future. Well, there was another theory I had, which is that as Async moved more things into the complex, it started to copy rooms and try to make it look as human as possible. But for that one, I'm not as concrete. As she continues to walk around, she finds this giant hole in the floor. As she passes by to a locked door, she peers through the keyhole and we can see a more modern hallway akin to those mock images that Async made for their presentation. We can also see the spread of the bacteria has multiplied across the ceiling levels of the walls. But that's not the most shocking, as when she turns a corner, we can see a crashed car smashed into a wall, revealing that null zones are starting to become so big that whole cars are able to drive through them. What's even more interesting is it looks like this part of the car is still stuck on the other side, as the front end of it just disappears into the wall. Something much scarier is that there doesn't seem to be a driver in the car. And we could see by the handprints on the doorway and the blood dragged across the floor of the housing units, whoever was driving was able to get out. As she enters a dark room, she finds, oh my god, what is this? The bacteria has seemed to have spread all across this room, but getting distracted by a painting, she fails to notice the bacteria monster right next to her.
Whoa, what the fuck? What?
And I'm wondering, did the monster devour the driver, or did the driver become the monster? Running away, she circles back to where she first fell in. Again, coming across the hole in the ground, she decides her best chance is to go down it. But it leads to swimming pools? Must be a recreational area Async develops in the future. The monster, though, is still hot on her tracks, and that honestly is very surprising to me because like we've seen with the researchers, once they get a couple yards away from the monster, it's like they lose them. And this in my mind is just concreting more the theory that you have to have a hazmat suit on so that the monster can't know where you are. because it's easily finding this girl, as where with Marvin, it was having trouble finding him when he was standing in one place for so long. As she tries to escape the monster, she enters these thin corridors leading to a dead-end room. Seemingly, this is it. There's no way out. But then, I have no idea what that was. It looked as though the entire room was about to implode or possibly be transported somewhere else, and I think it's actually the latter. Why I believe this is due to the ending TV screen, because to see this footage playing means that the camera must have gotten out, and by byproduct, her as well. At least I hope so. So there's a good chance that she was actually teleported out of the back rooms at this moment. To where, I have no clue, but hopefully somewhere safe. To me, found footage 2 seems to focus a lot more on those green lit rooms. We see them all over as she's running, and especially at the end. And as the series goes on, green lighting becomes a much bigger part in the story. So just keep that in the back of your mind for now. As we move on to the next video, I remember, I think for the first time in the series, a video actually doesn't have a correlated date with it. But I think this is done on purpose, because this one in particular isn't like any of the other videos in the series. This one isn't classified as found footage, presentation informationals, or research expeditions. This entire video takes place in the mind of the lost async researcher. We see a missing poster for a James E. I would like to think that's the narrator's name. And as the narrator talks, psychedelic visuals of parts of the outside world and async labs take over. He talks metaphorically about his life represented as a house that was washed away by the sea. Many people, when you look out into the sea, it seems almost never ending. This will be a good representation for the infinite backrooms. He talks about heavily how his house or life was forgotten, just like the many other people's lives that were forgotten forever in the Yellow Sea. And as the video comes to a close, we're shown the hazmat suit of an async member saying the words, "Could there ever be anything greater than this?" That last line, I believe, is to be seen from the view of someone trapped in the endless hallways, in a complex that is so infinite it seems unmatched, unrivaled in endless power and madness. Could there ever be anything greater than this? The whole poem really seems to hint at the feeling of insanity that sets in while in the complex, being forgotten by a world that no longer exists to you as this place becomes your home. And it seems easy to lose that old life from your thoughts, and the complex reminds you of that. I haven't mentioned it before, but the backrooms and all it entails really is a product of liminal spaces. Those being places that feel familiar, almost like a memory, but just forgotten. This was the original idea that spawned the backrooms photo, a place that seems almost familiar but humanly unnatural, just like if it was somewhere you might have remembered passing by or being in for just a second. It also seems that this person remembers the life they had before and makes it apparent to say they haven't forgotten. Could this be the one who was lost in the complex during informational video? The hazmat suit at the end totally isn't a dead giveaway, but on top of that, we also don't really know how long he was wandering around before reaching the new threshold door. He could have ran back into the complex or could be under analysis at Async, and that makes me wonder, how did Async handle that situation? What did they do when one of their lead researchers disappeared out of thin air? And it's not that far-fetched to say that going through this traumatic event has him rethinking what he was once a part of and now possibly seeks to take it all down. But only time will tell as we continue on. The next video, titled Reunion, is dated May 25th, 1990, only a couple weeks after Marvin's encounter with the bacteria monster, and 3 months after the events of the informational video take place. Opening up on the hills of Southern California, we watch an unnamed old man jot down in his notebook, before we are shown a coffee mug with acronyms MLML in a globe with the coordinates 364764 north and 12137.27 west written across it. Checking these coordinates, they are the exact locations for Moss Landing Marine Laboratories in California, which borders the ocean and is surrounded by mountainous views, just like the live footage sections that show up periodically throughout the series. So they must have some connection with Async Laboratories, which we know is located in the Southern California area thanks to the graphics shown in presentation. But I would not recommend going to the labs expecting to find some backroom stuff. You're just gonna scare the scientists. We then see the advancements Async has made moving more and more into the complex, now using carts to get around, almost like they imagined for their presentation video. At this point, it also really struck me that I never question how things work in the complex. It seems that as long as you have some kind of marker that is in view or that you're following, the complex doesn't seem to move around or change much. It's only when you're isolated away from anything is when you begin to be at the will of the walls. Crazily, it also seems that Async has decided the hazmat suits are no longer needed, as this lady's just walking around with no worry, just breathing in all that dangerous bacteria. We also get a first look at a rover. Most likely, since workers are no longer willing to try and deal with the possibility of becoming the monster's next lunch, this is the new way of exploring without causing any more monster run-ins. The team onboards the section we saw previously closed up in reports, ready to continue their work. I guess I never noticed too how those workers also didn't have hazmat suits on. Kinda just flew over my head they were exposing themselves in the complex like this. I always assumed this area was right where the threshold was, but I guess I was wrong. We then see the rover in action, as we hear Async workers who are directing the driver where to go. It seems even though this is much deeper than the scientists are at, they seem to know the layouts of further parts of the complex still very well. As they are conducting their search, the researchers also seem to be talking about someone else to each other.
Is that really what he said? I don't think he has a full understanding of the situation.
Oh, I doubt he does either, but you think that matters?
Possibly another coworker who has been having some difficulties at Async. I have my suspicions they're talking about the lost researcher who was found only a couple weeks ago. As he drives around, we can see the rover has reached back to the room with the holes in the ground. And oh, I guess people really still are being sent out there. Could not pay me enough money to do that. Through their conversations, it also seems that they can somehow scan the quality of the air to make sure it's not toxic. That's why workers are able to reach certain distances without having to worry about getting sick. But they stay on the side of caution, as apparently certain areas of the complex may be more toxic than the others. They refer to the floor room as 14D, and as the bacteria monsters as Marvin's friends, which is pretty funny. We also get a good look at this new suit here, and I wonder why his is different from the others. We're then shown time lapses of them boarding up the holes to create a safer walkway. We can also see the crew has brought some defenses in case anything happens. Mark mans the shotgun as the crew goes into an unmapped room 14C. They notice that the walls aren't made of the same material we're used to, as the entire environment seems to change at a line in the middle of the room, like a biome in Minecraft. But the thing is, as they walk around, they begin to see that tiles from the ceiling are missing and moved, almost as if someone or something has been rummaging in the ceiling. As they venture deeper, they come across a makeshift map of the area. But at the same time, communications begin to cut off and their signal dies out. Not wanting to be lunch meat, they decide to head back.
Well, if we do get back and they say it's just a non-issue, you just come back around, you know, and see what the...
Oh my god! He's got my gun! He's got my gun! He's got my gun! Go! Never you move!
Okay, okay.
They're attacked by a man wrestling the gun away from Mark. And even though the viewer at this point really shouldn't have any idea who this is, Marvin seems to recognize him.
Wait,
I don't know.
Peter?
Oh shit.
Marv? Marvin?
Yes, it's me. Is it really you?
It's me. It's me.
How? It's been months. We thought you...
And as they talk, it seems to be the same missing Async researcher from before. But wasn't he found when he went into the new threshold area in presentation? Maybe my theory of him running out could be correct. He might have just got too shocked and escaped back into the complex. But why is he in regular clothes? And as they continue, so many questions begin to pop through my mind. He begins to rant about how Async has covered up his disappearance and faked his death.
They took my life from me, Marv. Everyone thinks I'm fucking dead. My wife and children think I'm dead.
Can you please put down the gun?
Marvin pleads to him, but as this happens, Mark seems to get signal back to Async and starts to call for backup. So left with no choice, a decision is made.
I'm being held at gunpoint by a hostile. I repeat.
Stop!
Don't shoot him.
Armed support to
Stop.
13C.
Don't.
Sorry.
The mysterious man escapes, but not before telling Marvin to let the people know that he is alive, as we zoom in on the horrifying picture of Mark's shot body. Things just got 10 times more interesting. I have so many more questions now than I did at the beginning of the series. And that's just a testament to Kane's ability to have such a multi-layered story. The way he presents everything, it seems that all this was thought out of since the earliest video, possibly before the series even began. And some of the titles of upcoming videos leads me to believe that this isn't the last time we're going to hear about this guy. But before we get into that, we have to look at another short video titled Overflow. Again, another video without a date. An unknown narrator talks about the United States' progress of recouping Lend-Lease debt from Russia and once again opening commerce between the two powerhouses.
We're narrowing our differences, which have kept us from settling our Lend-Lease debt for 25 years.
Russia apparently taking the deal if they get some bank import credits, which I have no idea what that is. before a flash of light is shown, followed by a warning light indicator showing some kind of overload taking place in the machine. We then pan onto a board with papers pinned up all over it, with the green glow seen from found footage 2 covering the entire room. A map of the US can be seen above, showing what looks like what I would like to think are some significant kind of lines, converging at one point in Texas. There's also reports and writings pertaining to building and document outputs of said machine, but the most important part is the approval lines reading approved by advisor Ivan Beck, who we now know as Vice President of Async, and the document is dated August 2nd, 1972, way before Async had even been established, and not even when the prototype for the Threshold was done yet. Now, taking into account the time period and the narrator's talks in the beginning of the video, I want to say that this opening speech is actually supposed to represent President Nixon addressing the public. After looking up the entire speech with surrounding timelines, I was able to find some saved old news articles that talk about a trade between the Nixon administration and the Soviets during the same year, dated July 11th, 1972. The two nations who couldn't come to an agreement on loan money that Russia needed to pay back to the US for World War II were in heated debate, especially since the times after World War II were critical for both economies, Russia more so because they took on the brunt of the war. And wouldn't you know it, the Soviets talk about wanting bank import credits, which when I looked it up is just low tariffs and import taxes on goods from the US. So this is telling us a couple of things. First off, Ivan Beck was somehow involved in some kind of situation with the US government during the Russian trade plan in 1972. What exactly that is, I don't know, but it seems to be what could have set up everything that is currently happening in motion. Or possibly with the hint of green lights glowing all over the room, we're dealing with some kind of time travel. Could somebody have been sent back to 1972? Or possibly some kind of experiment led to some kind of time travel happening with the green glow? Man, this just added a whole nother layer to the series. Because what has Ivan Beck been doing before Async Labs? What landed him that vice president position? And why is he so important to the story? He clearly has history here, but we just can't figure it out yet. At least I can. If you guys have some theories on it, I would love to hear it in the comments, but let's just remember him for now because there's clearly more than meets the eye. But for now, we're back to what I teased earlier, damage control. The second and last video posted at the time of recording, and this one explains a lot. Dated one day after the encounter with the mysterious man in the complex,
there's a suspicious amount of clothing on the
Mark
ark.
and his communications with the Async Labs as he is held
This
at
is
gunpoint.
for Natasha.
14C, I am now being held at gunpoint by a hostile. I repeat, please send immediate armed support to Room 14C.
And the ensuing insanity that then occurs, as it seems like the man, now we know is named Peter, infiltrates back into Async Labs through the Threshold, threatening everyone. Luckily, no more harm is done, but it seems he is able to escape. I mean, no one's gonna attack a man with a shotgun. We see him continue to run around the complex past hallways and workers before what seems like security finally enters, now chasing him down. Before it's too late, he is able to exit through a freight elevator. With this entire situation taking place, Async higher-ups decide it's best to keep everyone overnight. I don't know who would agree to that, but we listen in on what they tell the workers through their intercoms.
What happened last night should not have happened. Not here, not with us. What occurred was a gross misunderstanding that was the result of some severe information mismanagement.
We learned that Async was hiding a lot of what was going on with the bacteria monster and the real threats that the complex poses to people that are working around it every day. And they try to basically apologize for the way they conducted things and withheld information, saying they're going to give an authentic telling of what happened. Sure they are, this is totally not gonna just try and save face. Retelling how on March 1st, 1990, during an expedition into the complex, this being the same one seen in an informational video, George Levy, Marvin Lee, Ronald McCarthy, and Peter Tench all voyaged into the backrooms. There's only just one weird thing, we're shown footage that's dated February 27th, but the expedition happened February 29th, so there's some kind of weird discrepancy happening here unless they're just using random footage to show, for example. I had to go back and double check just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. And wait a minute, March 1st? Either Kane got his dates mixed up or Async is deliberately giving out incorrect information. In universe, Async not only tells but shows the employees the footage of Peter Tench, who is the lost Async worker, disappearing from the group.
Now, I'd like to save the discussion for afterwards, but what you just saw is what we believe to be the moment that Peter was instantaneously transported 2 months forward in time.
And we are told what I suspected all along, that he was pushed forward in time. They also tell what they decided the best course of action was to not only save their own behinds, but also give peace to Peter's family, which was to fake his death via car crash. Totally peaceful. Insanity, absolutely soul-crushing if you were Peter Tench, and I understand why he is upset. When Peter comes back to the Threshold, he is apprehended by Async and put under testing to make sure he is okay and find out what happened to him. And from here on out is where I begin to really hesitate on how trustful I am with Asink's words. As the Async worker continues to tell how they told Peter of them faking his death, he was understanding and willing to cooperate. Their plan for him was to be reintegrated back into society, but apparently Async's plans to get him back into the world took too long. Or what's more likely is they were never gonna let him out in the first place, because in just 2 weeks he apparently started showing signs of paranoid schizophrenia, thinking he was still in some kind of illusion. And coincidentally, the day he was going to be moved back above ground, he decided to run back into the complex away from everyone as he felt Async was out to get him. Real coincidence there, the day you guys were going to move him up, he decided to run back in. I'm sure that's exactly what happened. I'm not believing anything. There was no way Async was going to allow a story like this even sniffing the idea of coming out. This would absolutely ruin their reputation and any connections with the US government. So I find it really hard to believe Async right now, because I feel like they are just making another cover story to hide their butts from the fact that Peter was never going to leave those labs and that Async was too worried about themselves. But they have to tell the workers this, because if they don't, more likely than not, they won't trust Async either. But from the looks of how everything's been going, everything will begin to crumble, as Tench did escape. Or so I thought.
There's no easy way to say this other than to just say it. I am terribly sorry to inform you all, but Mr. Tench was found deceased halfway down the hillside. The result of an extreme blow to the head. It appears that while he was running through some brush, he failed to anticipate a sudden dip in the ground and tragically fell forward into a large rock.
I think at this time, Async has reached a point of no return. And what this means for the company moving forward is honestly up for debate, because if you go as far as to murder one of your own employees, then there's nowhere you won't go. As the narrator closes up, we are shown a syringe, which makes me think for a second, maybe Peter wasn't dead, but they instead sedated him and have him locked up in Async somewhere. Before we're interrupted with an array of split-second shots. One being a man in front of a green light, just like the one the girl in found footage 2 got consumed in. Another being some suits mulling over something. A cluttered desk, another man running, and then the same picture of that man that was surrounded by green light but now with purple inking. But the most important of all, a still image of what looks like a city with what I can only presume is Peter Tench at the bottom right, showing that he clearly didn't die in those hills. He made it to the city and is still alive. Whether Async might have picked him up, I'm unsure of, but maybe he really is out there, just laying low. And as the video closes, we then fade into an apartment with a payphone ringing as movie sounds play in the background, ringing seemingly endlessly. This series so far has just put me through the ringer, taking me left, right, and looped around in every direction. It just keeps getting better and better the more I put in it. And I'm sad to say there's only one video left, but oh boy are we gonna end on a bang, because the last video in the series up to this point is Found Footage 3 and is 45 minutes long. Damn, that just added another 30 minutes to this video. And I'm gonna warn you, the things I've seen in this last video still have me stunned. But with that being said, let's finish this amazing series out on a banger. In this video, we're introduced to our protagonist, a man who is recording his day-to-day, and at a local fair, he overhears conversations between an executive at a company called Monsanto, who he explains was talking with his project manager about how the work they are doing is apparently affecting kids in the area, causing them to form or be born with some kind of disability.
I realized I recorded a Monsanto exec joking with a DPR manager about a sick kid, referring to it as the bug-eyed one. One of them basically admitted to fault, which, mind you, they aren't doing publicly at all.
Monsanto is a real-world company that dealt with a plethora of lawsuits during the 1990s that allegedly, I'm not trying to get sued here, dealt with a plethora of legal troubles and accusations of polluting soil and a bunch of other things you can look up. Like, the list is long. Again, allegedly, though. Don't sue me. Why we're even told about this? Well, I think this is because this video, unlike the other found footages, doesn't have a date attached to it. So we're supposed to use some context clues to give us an idea of when this is happening. We get an even better idea when we overhear a radio talking about the Oklahoma City bombings, which took place on April 19, 1995. Anyways, as he arrives to his place, he seems to hear some commotion coming from the basement of his house. Thinking at first it's just maintenance from the house owners, but as he ventures downstairs, he can see something has broken into or possibly out of his house. Hearing more commotion coming from a closet in the same room, he checks to make sure no one's hiding out. Opening the door and nothing. Checking another room, while this place is way bigger than I thought, he rounds a corner after hearing some noise and sees an entire hidden hallway behind his broken through basement wall. And as he enters...
Hey, welcome. Okay, I wanna play something.
He's transported into the complex, dropping in from a cabinet shelf. Surprised he could fit his whole body in there. But more surprising though is how extremely fleshed out the complex has become. Everything looks more and more how Async had imagined it in their presentation video. Office spaces and living spaces all being integrated.
I'm gonna pause this for now. Oh, why is it like that? I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. I don't care. Wait for a bit. Ah, it's fucking downloading. What do you mean it's downloading? Where's Gigi Murin? Where's Gigi Murin? There's no Gigi. Why is there no Gigi? I'm gonna kill myself. I'm killing myself. Where is Gigi? Okay, good. That list downloads in the background. I'm gonna draw for a bit till I wait for the thing to download. It's already 6. What the hell? Rip Backlor's room. Backlor's. Backlor's room. Backroom's lore. Bro, I cannot speak shit today. I'll continue it later. It's gotten like really boring. It's just the same shit. Like, okay, it's interesting, but you can only repeat bullshit up to a certain point. Yeah. Like, yeah, sure, getting transported in a room with like liminal spaces is creepy, but it can only get creepy up to a certain point. I've heard more creepier shit than this. It is interesting. It's not creepy. Like, oh, it's not gonna like run chills through my spine. Oh, nice. It's already finished. Where's Gigi Murin? What the fuck? There's no Gigi? Whatever. I'm going for Crony. Bro, fuck this game. No Crony. I don't care. I don't care about the story. I need to go to the setting. I don't care about all of this cutscene bullshit. I don't care. Hey, what's up? Wait, I'm currently setting this up right now. Hey, hey. Okay, heartbreak. Huh? Excuse me? Okay. Crony, she's so good. Talk to me, Fubuki. No GG, I'm gonna kill myself. This game sucks already. I mean, there's Crony. I don't care about the cutscene. Look at fucking Crony's ass though. What the hell? I don't care. I don't care about the cutscene. Hello, welcome. I don't care about the cutscene. Let me out of here. Oh. Oh. Wait, am I like getting gacha roll right now? Okay, bro. Okay. Let's try normal first, so we could. Time to uninstall. Maybe 6. Bro. How do you even control this? It's usually SDJK.
Let's all have a great time together.
Yeah, Crony. SDF. Why is there 6 keys? JK.
Thank you for filling my empty tank with joy. I really appreciate you all.
Wow, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, life's clear.
don't like this shit so